So you want to get into videography. Here's some things you need to know. So I only got into filmmaking and videography a few years ago. I started with photography and I learned the camera using YouTube. One thing I learned is when it comes to equipment, and it's something that you need to know as well as a beginner videographer, is that you do not need the best. I've made this video before. My first ever video was starting YouTube on a budget, but videography in general, if you're a freelance videographer or just a filmmaker in general, you do not need the best equipment. I would recommend going out and buying a second-hand cheap body for a camera, because the more important part are the lenses. So whatever your budget is, split that up. So take a quarter of it. If you've got £1,000, take 250, put towards a cheap body of a camera, and put the rest of the 750 towards lenses, or one lens. Now, depending on your style, you can either buy 2 or maybe even 3 prime lenses, and prime lenses are the ones that do not zoom. They tend to be slightly better quality in my opinion, or if you want, you can buy a really expensive zoom lens. So for Canon, say you buy a cheap Canon body, you can then buy the 16 to 35 or the 24 to 70, and that'll basically get you everything you want on one lens. Or you can buy a 16mm and a 50mm and an 85mm, whatever you want to buy. I usually use 50 and 16, but that's just what I like to use. I basically always use 50, apart from right now, this is a 16mm. And then you're set. When it comes to audio, if you go back to my very first video, I showed 2 microphones. One of them is quite crap, but the other one, which is just sat on the desk, works really well. So it depends what you need it for. If you need an on-the-go mic, you can use like the Rode Video Mic Go, which is a relatively cheap camera, sub £100, and it goes on top of the camera itself, and you can get your audio that way. Or you can invest in maybe, depending on, again, it depends on your budget, but you can get something like the DJI mic, which is what I use, and you can get all the audio what you want. It comes with 2 microphones, and you can use that one. You can record directly on it and get your Foley sound, or you can just connect it to the person and get audio that way. Now, when it comes to lighting, you don't need to spend much here either. So as a beginner, you might go a bit over the top, thinking you need to get those massive dome lights or those really expensive aperture lights, which I do happen to have, but you don't need them either. There are lights behind me, which I'll show you now. These lights here, these little studio lights, there's 2 there and there's 1 there. They come as a pack of 3. Now looking on Amazon here, you can get these studio lights. There's a single one here for £43, or you can get, there's 3 LED lights for £44, and that will get you the look that you need. Now either side of me here, there are more expensive lights, but that's because they link up to each other. I can make one master and one the slave, which I do not like the name of, but it means that whatever color that is, that will copy. The same with the brightness and everything, but that's a much higher budget. But on here you can get £130 for 3 studio lights with a softbox. You can get them for relatively cheap, and you don't need to spend a lot of money. You can get even just one of these LED lights and it will do the job for you. If you get a window, there's a window right here which is lighting up this side of my face. If I was to move my desk closer, I don't need any lights. I just need this one. And then carry on with equipment. One trap that every beginner falls into, including me, is to avoid buying equipment. That sounds weird, seeing as I just told you to buy equipment, but when you start getting money in, whether you're working a second job or you start getting money in with freelance, you start getting excited and think, oh, what Sony camera can I buy now? Can I buy a Blackmagic 6K camera? Can I buy the Sony a7 IV? You don't need to do that. Save the money and invest it later on down the line. So either save the money and wait further down the line and then buy the newest body that you can afford because you've got more than enough money for it. Or if you absolutely need to because you've broken a lens or your lenses just aren't getting the look you want, make sure you sell your current lens. You can use websites like MPB, which are quite good at buying equipment off you, and then buy a second-hand or a brand new lens if you do happen to have the money for it. But make sure it's a lens. Camera body doesn't mean too much until you get further down the line where you need 4K slow motion, but save the money for that. Next one is post-production. So you're editing, sound design, color grading. Watch my tutorials. The 5th and final one is just start. The only way that I really learned how to use the camera was by doing it. I didn't just watch YouTube tutorials and then get a wedding video and just knew what I was doing. I had to do it. I would film my own little vlogs, or I would do my own rubbish skits or something with the camera, and I would learn the settings. Yes, you can watch a lot on YouTube. There's a lot of videos out there with what ISO, aperture, shutter speed and all that mean, but the best way for you to learn is by getting a camera, getting a lens, getting out there and learning it yourself. Obviously, watch these tutorials, watch my videos, and so you can learn the basics, but the best way you're gonna learn is just by starting. So just get out there and do it, build up your portfolio, and just start.